Hey everyone! So today we're talking about what's the best thing about sex, which will be up here somewhere, in discussion of that, and I have discussed this topic before, which is the orgasm. Now I know, it's a scary word to some people, to other people it's like, what's the big deal? If you don't know, watch my previous videos on this subject, which is literally called, What's the Big Deal? And it gets all into that. But today, this is actually a video that I promised to do a little while ago, and it is the how to get there. Now I know this seems like a simple thing. Some people, this might not be relevant to you if you're someone who can just do it up. Have fun. Do you. But I'm more I'm more talking to the people that have never had or have a really hard time. So I really want to get into that. I will also be talking to you men out there about penile dysfunction to an extent. There are some medical reasons, but there are some that we can overcome. So I do want to get into all that today. I hope you enjoy this. As always, like and subscribe below if you want to support me. And I hope you enjoy this. So how to get there. Now, I'm not going to get into the gory details of what toys you should use or what to do with them. That's really not the point of this particular video because everybody is different. Everyone has different likes and needs, and I don't really want to try to single out certain techniques that might work for some but don't work for others. What I really want to talk about is, why do we have a problem with getting there? What is the big issue with getting to the peak of pleasure? And why is it such a mystery for some? So I'm going to start with the girls, because boys, I hate to break it to you, but you probably don't. If you can get it up, you probably don't have a hard time getting off. Girls are not so easily wired. So for the ladies in general, and this can also include not just the typical type of woman, I'm also referring to anyone part of under the T of the trans community or any of that, because you can also have issues with this because of the hormones or other issues along with the transition. So this advice is also for you as well. It's for all women, not just biological women. So on that note, for you ladies, and don't mind if you see my little doggy here, again, it's just easier to let her sit with me than kick her off the bed, because then she barks at me from out the door. So it's just easier to let her sit here with me. So for you ladies out there, there are some really big things that we got to overcome sometimes to get to the point of climax. And a lot of it comes down to comfort. So we have to be able to get over our own self-awareness sometimes. Like if you have self-conscious issues or if you have confidence issues, this might play a big role in your ability to orgasm. And it's because we have to be comfortable. We have to be relaxed. Your whole body has to be calm. And then the passion can overrun and other things will happen. But we have to be comfortable in the very beginning to reach the fun at the end. So there are a few tips to get comfortable. A big one, and this is not getting into aromatherapy, but just in the means of relaxing, whatever sense you find calming or you find invigorating or just helps you find a place of comfort, use an incense, burn a candle, whatever. Get that smell running through the air so it just engulfs your senses while you're having your fun. Another thing is finding lingerie you're comfortable with. And I know this sounds kind of weird where it's like, what does that matter? But if you feel sexy in whatever you're wearing, you will portray that to your partner, and you will also find more confidence within your own sexuality. So find things that make you feel sexy. It doesn't have to be some women are just sexy in a t-shirt and a pair of boxer shorts. Some women feel sexy in a full lace negligee. Find whatever works for you, because it's not anything standardized. It works for you. Find what makes you feel sexy and you feel confident. And the other thing is music and sounds do play a huge role in this. And I'm not going to say put on the elevator music because that won't really do anything. You want something with a rhythm that'll get your heart pumping. And I know this sounds kind of weird, you know, if you're not really into techno or you're not really into dance music, this might seem a little bit foreign to you. And I get that. It doesn't have to be that. You can, if you're into classical music, put on some salsa tunes, put on a tango rhythm, something that makes you want to move, something that makes your heart go, and you'll find it'll actually help wire you in bed. It'll help you get into your rhythm a little bit better, and then your partner can also feel your vibe, where it's like we're on the same rhythm, literally. So those are 3 big tips to help you with getting there. And if those don't work, I mean, if you're dealing with a trauma situation or something of that nature, you might need to get real counseling and get some real help for your mind, because we do have to deal with trauma. We do have to physically deal with the situations. We can't just run away from them. But on that, you can't run away from sex either. Sex doesn't have to be inherently scary, bad, or dangerous. It's actually really good for us. And if you're someone who is single, do not be afraid of toys. Even if it's just something like a vibrator. It doesn't have to be anything penetrative. It doesn't have to be anything to cross boundaries. Just a vibrator can do amazing things to help you relax and get into the vibe of your own body. And I would say too, with my 3 previous tips, if you're in a relationship where you're having a really hard time with the orgasm itself, then maybe taking some time alone wouldn't hurt. Don't leave the relationship or anything, but just take that time to masturbate. Take that time to get comfortable in your own skin and learn how to get there on your own, so that you know how to portray it to your partner. You know how to properly educate your partner on you, because we are all like books. We're all books that need to be read, and if we don't read ourselves first, we can't tell our story to anybody else. So we have to make sure that we are definitely learning ourselves. So if you're a person who's never had an orgasm, it has nothing to do with your partner, nothing to do with anything, definitely masturbate. And you might still not get there just by masturbating, but it's about getting into a zone where you're comfortable with your body, you're comfortable with your sexuality, so that you can be comfortable with a partner who maybe will do it for you. And I hate to go with the whole like love at first whatever thing, but there is some truth to when you're having sex. If you're reaching climax, how it feels, different things like that can help base us if we're in a good, strong relationship, if it's going to last, or if it's not. So I hope that helps you ladies. For you gents out there, if you are dealing with anything along the lines of penile dysfunction. Now, granted, I'm not going to say if you're on certain medications, there are a lot of antidepressants, heart medications, things like that, that can impede your ability to get an erection, or it can impede your libido completely that you just don't want to. And if that's the case, I would recommend going to your physician and talking to them about it, about lowering your dosage or a different prescription or something to help with that medically. Because I'm never going to dismiss medical attention. I think it's very important to be very considerate of those kind of things if you are on medications. But what I really want to get into is if you're not on medications. So the big thing with erectile dysfunction that people don't realize is unless you are on a medication, or unless you're dealing with cancer, which causes chemo, like when you're going into chemo, which might cause problems, or other medical reasons of that nature, if you are not dealing with those, then you are dealing with a mental block. It's something going on in your mind. So I have a few tricks and tips for that as well. I know, sounds weird. Regular girl here telling you boys what to do with your junk. I get it. It's funny. But seriously, I do have some interesting tips. So the first one, again, with the masturbation and vibrators. This might sound strange, but vibrators on the penis, on the balls, that kind of stuff, can really motivate blood flow. So don't be afraid to do that. And oh wow, this video is definitely demonetized with that statement. But anyways, all of mine are, so it's okay. It's not a big deal. But the other thing is the proper motivation. So it kind of similarly goes into what I was telling about the girls, where it's finding the right scents that you're relaxed with, finding the right outfits that make you feel comfortable and sexy, finding the right atmospheres that you feel safe in. And I don't mean that like safe place. I mean that like, are you comfortable in your room, or would you be more comfortable in the bathroom, or would you be more everyone has different wiring. Everyone's a little bit different. So find where you are the most comfortable in your home or in your space and work on it from there. And I can understand it can be very embarrassing and it can be very frustrating even if you're in the mode and you want to and you just can't. But take a breather. Don't get upset, because as soon as you start getting mad about the fact that something's not working, and a quick tip to the ladies, do not insult your men in this situation. If you're dealing with a man who's having these issues, do not taunt, mock, or ridicule them. It is not always within their control, and it's not any kind of blight to the partner. It's literally something going on in their minds. And the other thing I really want to mention was shame in general. A lot of men will have issues with performance in general because they're taught to have shame around their sexuality. So much like the women, they have to learn their own confidence and their own way with their sexuality. We all have to find comfort within ourselves. So if you are from a very religious family, for example, that has plastered you with sex is bad, it's evil, it's inherently just disgusting, you don't do that unless you're married, then it's beautiful and wonderful and a sign of love. But that doesn't happen until you're married. So if you're one of these kind of people that have been raised this way, you probably haven't done a whole lot of masturbating, because masturbating is seen as the route to evil. It's the start of the gateway, which is bogus. It doesn't work that way, actually. Kids that masturbate are less likely to become sexually active younger because they actually have an understanding of their own sexuality and don't need to look to others for that security if they learn to masturbate. But that is something that a lot of religious people don't necessarily go through in those critical times of teenage years for development of our sexuality. And I'm sorry if it gets a little weird with the kid stuff too. I've studied developmental psychology, and that's where it led me into sexuality and led me into how it all breeds together and how it creates societies. So if I'm talking a little bit about that, it's strictly as a developmental point that we all have to hit these markers. But anyway, so for you men, if you have not had a lot of experience with yourself, take that time. And it doesn't have to be riddled with porn. It doesn't have to be anything specific. Just take the time to get to know your body, get to know yourself, get to know what you really like, so that, again, you can tell your partner what you like. And it works on both fronts for the men and the women. That's the way it works. But we have to be confident and comfortable in ourselves to truly enjoy sexuality with somebody else. So make sure that you're taking that time to get to know you, to get to know what you like. The second thing is partner encouragement. So if you are someone who just routinely has a hard time keeping it up or getting it up in general, there are games you can play, such as you're not allowed to get hard. So it's literally she or he is just going to torment you and say, no, you're not allowed to get hard. As soon as you start to, I'm going to stop. And then we just keep playing this game until it becomes second nature to get hard. As soon as you're touched, it's like, oh, boom. But it takes conditioning. Just like anything else, there's conditioning involved with this. Just like you got to practice to stay hard longer, you got to practice to get hard too. It works both ways. So don't be afraid to play games with your partner and encourage your partner to want to play games with you. The other thing is, when you're dealing with any kind of impotency, especially with erectile dysfunction, because there's a whole bunch of different things that fall into that umbrella, but when you're dealing with a typical impotency issue, do not be afraid of toys. Do not be intimidated by them. If you are with a person who has a pretty high sex drive and yours is kind of low, don't be afraid to make up for the difference with toys. It's okay. It's not going to replace you in any way. I find men get very uncomfortable with that idea, where it's like, nope, women, you're not replacing me with something bigger than me, or, oh, it's intimidating because it is bigger, or whatever. That might be the case, but a typical partner isn't going to leave their significant other for the sake of a toy. It just doesn't work that way. They might ask for it more often. They might go, hey, well, if you can't function, can you still help me get there so that I can reset my brain? Especially for women. Women need to get off more than men for our brains. Like, there is this weird need that we have that has nothing to do with our bodies but to do with our brains. We need that reset. Men get a reset too, don't get me wrong. If there's an orgasm, there is a brain, it's like you're so flushed with all the hormones at once that you kind of get a quick whoosh, and then everything calms down and everything resettles and you're good to go again, which is why people who get laid tend to be happy the next day if they have a good experience with it. It's just the way it works. Or if you don't have a good experience, why you get so frustrated, why it gets so angering that you're not reaching this point. It's strictly because you're not getting that brain reset that you need. So I really want to stress that if you cannot function for, especially if we're talking about medical reasons, like if there's a medical reason that you cannot function, it's not your fault, it's not your partner's fault, it's just a strictly medical reason, don't be afraid to still enjoy sexuality whether you can function or not, because your partner probably still can. Just keep that in mind. Just because you can't function doesn't mean your partner can't. So make sure you're keeping that boundary open, that it's for everyone to enjoy, everyone to get something out of it. And you'll probably find an increased intimacy with that partner, because you will find that just pleasing them, you get a satisfaction of it. Because whether you're using a toy or your own member, you're still doing the effort. You're still making your partner feel that way. So embrace it, love it, enjoy it. Don't be afraid of toys or of getting involved. And you might find that by doing stuff like that, it actually helps you function better too, because again, there's a brain aspect and there's a removal of shame that's required for a lot of people dealing with dysfunction, where it's, you got to get past that. You got to get to a point where it's just about fun, joy, reigniting passions, reinstilling affection, whatever the case might be. There are so many reasons that we have sexual relations outside of just penetration that we need in life. So just keep that in mind. And I think I'm going to end that here. As always, I hope you enjoyed my video. I hope you learned something. If you didn't, I hope you enjoyed it anyway. And yeah, so I send my love to all of you guys. Thank you for watching. And like and subscribe. As always, have a good night, guys. Bye.